Kerbal Space Program 2 Early Access is not good. It is bad. It is a disappointment. It fell below my already minimal expectations. And alright, we're coming out swinging here. We're being a little bit controversial, but if you do hear me out, I do believe I have a pretty valid reason for being so harsh on the game, alright? So this is really because I think launching the game like this has the potential to really harm KSP2's long-term viability. Alright, and I will explain this later on in the video, but I do want to start by giving a little bit of specifics as to my complaints, and there are also plenty of things to compliment. The game does do several things really well, especially one thing in particular, which I'll get to, but before we do that, I do want to quickly say, if you are enjoying the game, if KSP2 is the best thing since sliced bread for you, that is fantastic. I don't want to try to take that away in any way, shape, or form. If anything, I'm jealous of you. I wish I could be enjoying the game as much as you. But honestly, it seems like for the people I've talked to, the playing experience has ranged anywhere from lacking in features to downright unplayable. And unfortunately, my experience has been closer to the downright unplayable end. But so let's get into more specifics here. What am I actually talking about? So the big one is performance, and this is just bad. For reference, I have a GTX 1080 Ti, and I'm getting, this is a rocket I built on stream. It's like a 30-part Minecraft, and it's 10 FPS maybe. And that's really not acceptable, even in my opinion, even for early access. Like a comparable craft in KSP1 on my system would run 60 plus FPS any day of the week. Like, this makes me just panic for the people who would have less than a 1000 series card. Like, if you have a 960, oh my god, I feel terrible for you. Like, it's Microsoft PowerPoint. I mean, it literally is. So that's already off to a bad start. And yes, the frames do improve as you get away from the more complicated textures like the trees and the Kerbal Space Center. But even in space, I was getting like 20s maybe, occasionally popping into the 30s when I was really far away from Kerbal and staged away all my a lot of my parts. But yeah, it's bad. And you know, if you're trying to scale this up to build craft, like, I don't know how you're going to go to places like Eve where you need to build several hundred part craft to get there. Like, how are you supposed to do that? Not to mention the noodling, which is just a whole nother Loverly situation that I'll get into here in a second. But like, here's me building just a little bit bigger of a rocket, and ooh, it is not really going. And I understand that a 1080 Ti is not a top of the line card, you know, but it's still probably above average for what most people get. And it's, you know, how are you going to grow the game? And this is a point I made in my previous video with these requirements. And I was really hoping when the minimum specs were released, so the devs were just being really conservative and you didn't actually need a quantum computer to run this thing. But yeah, you do. And that's not even the worst, which is shocking to say. The lag, the performance is not the worst part of KSP2 for me. And this is really why it was a disappointment, because, oh my god, the bugs. This thing, I expected it to be buggy, but I did not expect it to be this buggy. It is a disaster, the amount of bugs in this game. And I don't know, like, what kind of developer would even... That's why I really think Take-Two is really pushing for this to come out, because releasing a game with this many bugs is for $50? Like, ooh, that's a questionable decision in my mind. But, like, let's go over... This is just on my first Mun mission I did on stream here. This is the list of bugs I encountered. So, first of all, the maneuver node was not working. Like, the trajectory when you encounter the sphere of influence, it just wasn't showing up. My planned trajectory, essentially. It just was gone. Bye-bye! And I've heard this is a very common problem that almost never shows up for anyone, so that's just a great start. And then, as I continued on my mission, I was trying to land on the Mun, and I reloaded to quick save, and popped inside of the Mun. So, yep, that was fun. We tried to fly out, exploded, and then, okay, whatever. One quick save issue. Well, we land on the Mun, we try to come back, and then we time warp to try to, you know, get closer to Kerbal, and phase through Kerbal, and explode, and mission's over. So, there you go. That was my first experience with KSP2, was broken maneuver nodes, broken quick saves, broken time warp. And those are important features. Kind of all of those are some of the most important features in KSP2. But, and that's not even the worst of it. Like, from hearing from viewers and friends and watching other streams, you know, there was some really messed up things happening. Like this issue with the Space Center. This happened to Matt Lown. Just the Kerbal Space Center just showing up. In physics, right? You could run into it when you load a quick save. Just, hello, how you doing? And it wouldn't go away. So that's, okay, whatever. Maneuver node issues. Strats and Blitz. I saw him have big issues with maneuver nodes, and his keyboard getting just completely messed up, and it just, oh my god, why so buggy? There were issues with the game crashing, issues with rockets just randomly exploding, so many issues. One issue, this is the most game-breaking issue I had, was I was trying to build, this one time, building a plane, an SSTO, and every time I would try to go to launch it, and I would just get stuck in an infinite loading screen, just get soft locked, and I would have to restart the game. And it took me like 4 tries of just restarting the game before my craft actually spawned on the runway, right? I would load the game, click launch, get stuck, close the game, reload, repeat 4 times, and then I got my craft onto the runway. Like, that makes you want to pull your hair out, doesn't it? So, God, that was frustrating. But I mean, the list just goes on and on and on and on and on. Like if you just go look through Discord servers or through Reddit, I'm sure you'll find 1,000 more bugs that I haven't even talked about here that people are just noticing. So that's just, it's not good. Like the bugs, it's like, guys, if you imagine you're a new player, and that's really why I have an issue here, is because a big part of KSP2, the devs are pitching, was accessibility. You know, it's going to be great for new players. We're going to onboard so many new Kerbal players, and everyone's going to learn how to play the game, because it is a complicated game, right? If you don't know much about, you know, orbital mechanics and stuff like that, you know, it's a bit of a learning curve. A few Scott Manley videos to get through before you're ready to go. So that's why they have these fancy new tutorials and stuff to get all the people get comfortable with the game and, you know, learn the basics and maybe do your first Mun mission or something like that. And well, how are you supposed to do that if your rocket noodles and then it lags and then your maneuver nodes don't work? Like, how is that an accessible experience? And then you can't even load a quick saves half the time. Like, how are you supposed to, like, you have these new tutorials, these fancy, amazing, beautiful tutorials, but when you actually get down to the core gameplay, it just sucks, to be honest. And I don't see how that is any better for a new player. If anything, it's worse. Like, I feel like it'd be easier for a new player to learn using KSP1 just with YouTube videos than trying to go through the KSP2 tutorial system and then trying to mess with the broken game. That's just my opinion, but that's just what it seems like to me. And that's not even to mention all the missing features. And this also grinds my gears a little bit. The amount of missing features is mind-boggling, all right? So the Delta V readouts, where are they exactly? What's going on? I mean, there are some, but why can't I see individual stages? But, you know, whatever. Auto strut, and this is what the bending issue is. And this kind of baffles me. Why not just turn the bending off? Make every part 100% rigid until you're ready to put in the auto stretch, so you don't have to deal with noodling. All right, you don't have to blah, 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 blah. So I think they should just do that, and then you turn the feature back on when you're ready to put auto stretch back on. But whatever, they didn't want to do that. TWR, what's going on with TWR? Why is there no thrust to weight ratio? I believe there is for just on Kerbal, your first stage, but like, how are you supposed to make Tylo landers? Like, God, guys, come on. Flow priority. I could not find, there may be a way to do this, but I could not find a way to adjust fuel flow priority, right? Like if you want to have one tank burn before the other tank for weight reasons or whatever, like that's just gone. And that's very useful for planes a lot of the time, right? If a plane becomes too back heavy, you know, they flip out. So you want to burn, a lot of the times you want to burn, you know, the back fuel first, so it keeps front heavy, but that I couldn't figure out how to do that, and there's just a laundry list of items that are just in KSP1 that just they didn't flip over to the early access, which I'm sure are coming, but you know, I did touch on this as well in my other video. First impressions matter, right? If someone pays $50 and they have this buggy, laggy, incomplete game, they're gonna either get a refund or just never play it again. And KSP2 is unlikely to be this popular again, at least in the near future. Like, if the game gets into a better state in the next few months to years, and colonies and multiplayer and all that fun stuff gets added, it's still very difficult to win back those players, right? Because they have a sour taste in their mouth. They remembered last time they played the game, and why would they have any reason to believe that the next time would be any different? We've seen this happen with multiple games in the past, right? They have bad launches, and devs fix it up a little bit, but it never regains its popularity, and that's tough, and especially makes me worried about the funding that KSP2 is going to get, because the reviews it got on Steam were dubious at best, all right? And like, if they're not getting great sales, I'm sure refunds are going to be really high. If they're not getting great sales, I feel like Take-Two, there's a good chance they cut the budget, and then we'll never get features like colonies, multiplayer, interstellar travel. But, you know, hey, that's just my opinion, but it's something I'm worried about. And you know, I think it's something we got to address before going forward. I think now it's a critical time that the devs need to patch up all these issues while there's still a lot of players still playing the game. Patch it all up, get it into a more working state, and we'll just see what happens. But before we go, I did say I would touch on the positives here, and I know I do sound a little bit harsh, like I said at the beginning, but I think this is an overall enjoyable game. It depends on what you're using it for. If you're trying to do interplanetary missions to like the Julian moons, Elu, Moho, maybe not. Maybe, yeah, bad. But there is one shining beacon in the dark void here. One big redeeming quality, and that is the planes. The new procedural wings, I gotta admit, they're really good. They're awesome. And that's really the most fun I've had with this game, is messing around with planes. And they really should rename it to Kerbal Plane Program, because that part is actually actually really good in my opinion. And other things, the UI, the sound design, especially the sound design, great job. Plumes, not quite as good as Waterfall, but it does look good. All right, so there are kind of niche uses you can do it for. And if you're not building huge craft, and if you have an upper end system, you're gonna be fine for like MUN missions or whatever, maybe doing missions, but it's really limited what you can do in this game. And if you were to ask me whether or not I think it's worth $50, I'd have to say no, unfortunately. Like, and I know a lot of people like to compare this to KSP1, and they say like, oh, KSP1 was in early access, alpha, whatever you want to call it, for years, and you know, so what? It's the same thing with KSP2. Yeah, but KSP1 didn't cost $50 that whole time. Like, I looked into it. KSP1 came to Steam in November 2014 for $30, right? And that was during the final beta version, 0.90, all right? So it's not like KSP1 was charging nearly full price for, like, just years with an incomplete game. So, and that's what they're kind of doing with KSP2, and I'm fine to pay the $50. Like, I did pay I'm going to be still playing this game for hours. I'm still going to be making videos about it. There's plenty to like, but there's just a lot of really important issues that need to be worked out here in the coming weeks and months, and I really hope they do. I hope that they can get this turned around, and I'm hoping for the best for KSP2. But you know, I'm gonna get out of your way here, guys. I'm gonna get this thing edited, and you know, let me know what you think. See you.